There is a bin lorry somewhere in Britain carrying a small fortune right now. A toy from 1978 worth more than a used car. A library book worth more than the library. We threw these things away by the million because they were ordinary, because they cluttered the loft. Number 4 recently sold at auction for the price of a family holiday. And number 1, if your nan kept hers, pause this and check the bookshelf. Here are the 25 everyday British objects collectors now pay serious money to get back. Number 25. Green Shield stamp books. Every trip to the garage or the grocer ended the same way in the 1960s. A strip of little green stamps pressed into your hand, licked and stuck into flimsy paper books at the kitchen table. Your mum saved for months to swap full books for a toaster or a picnic set at the Green Shield shop. When the scheme collapsed in the early 1980s, millions of half-filled books went straight in the bin. They were worthless overnight. Except they were not. Complete books in good condition now fetch £10 to £20 each from collectors of retail history, and rare early editions from the 1950s launch can go for considerably more. The catalogues, the shop signs, even the little dispensers from petrol station counters are all sought after now. An entire national obsession, licked, stuck, and binned. Somewhere in Britain there is a drawer full of them worth a weekend away. Number 24. Corona pop bottles. The Corona man came round the estates in his lorry, and those heavy glass bottles of limeade, dandelion and burdock, and cherryade were the highlight of the week. The genius bit was the deposit. Take the empty back to the shop and you got a few pence, which is why children scoured hedgerows and building sites for strays. But when plastic took over in the 1980s, the returnable bottle died, and the last of the glass went to the tip by the crate load. Today, embossed Corona bottles from the 1950s sell for £20 to £40, and rarer regional pop makers, the little local firms that vanished, can fetch 3 figures. Early stoneware ginger beer bottles with a brewer's name stamped on the side do even better. Bottle diggers now excavate Victorian rubbish dumps on purpose, hunting for the exact things our grandparents paid children to bring back. Number 23. Cigarette cards. Inside every packet of Players or Wills came a little printed card. Footballers, warships, garden birds, film stars. Fathers handed them to sons, sons flicked them against playground walls, and mothers threw shoeboxes of them out during every house move. Production largely stopped with wartime paper rationing, which means every surviving card is at least 80 years old. Common sets in decent condition now sell for £50 and up. But the rarities are something else entirely. A single card from the Taddy's Clowns series has sold for thousands of pounds. A rare Honus Wagner card, admittedly an American issue, became the most expensive trading card in history. The cards that got flicked, bent, and binned in their millions are now graded, slabbed in plastic, and sold at specialist auctions. Your great-granddad's shoebox, the one that went out with the rubbish in 1972, could have paid off a chunk of the mortgage. Number 22. Biscuit and toffee tins. Huntley and Palmer's, Peak Freen's, Sharp's Toffee, Quality Street. Once the biscuits were gone, the tin became a sewing box or a home for spare buttons, and when it rusted, out it went. Nobody thought twice. But those tins were miniature works of art, printed with lithographed scenes of coronations, steam trains, and country cottages. The novelty shapes are where the money is. Huntley and Palmer's made tins shaped like books, windmills, even a working delivery van. And those now sell for hundreds of pounds, with the rarest topping £1,000 at auction. Even ordinary decorative tins from the 1950s fetch £20 to £50 if the print is bright and the lid still fits. Collectors call it tin plate advertising. Your nan called it the button box. The difference between the two is about 300 quid. Number 21. Patterned Pyrex. That milk glass casserole dish with the little snowflakes or the red gaiety pattern was in every British kitchen from the 1950s onwards. Made by J.A.J. in Sunderland, it survived the oven, the table, and being dropped by children, which is precisely why nobody valued it. When kitchens went minimalist in the 2000s, charity shops could barely give the stuff away, and thousands of pieces were simply skipped. Then American collectors discovered vintage Pyrex, and the market went mad. Rare British patterns now sell for over £100 a piece, and complete sets with lids and original cradles can go for several hundred. The gooseberry and snowflake patterns that sat under your mum's shepherd's pie are photographed, catalogued, and fought over online. The dish that cost 12 and 6 from the Co-op is now a design classic. Check the back of the cupboard before the next clear-out. Number 20. Hornsea pottery storage jars. Every 1970s kitchen had them lined up on the shelf. The brown and cream saffron or heirloom jars stamped coffee, tea, and sugar, made in Hornsea on the Yorkshire coast. They were wedding presents, they were everywhere, and when pine kitchens gave way to gloss white, they went to the car boot for 50 pence or straight in the skip. The factory closed in 2000, and that changed everything. Hornsea now has a dedicated museum and a fierce collector base. Rare shapes and short-run patterns fetch strong money. Complete matching sets sell for well over what they cost new, even allowing for inflation. And the early studio pieces designed by John Clapperson can reach into the hundreds. A jar that held your nan's PG tips is now displayed behind glass. The lesson repeats through this whole list. The moment the factory gates shut, the ordinary becomes the irreplaceable. Number 19. Beswick figurines. The little Beatrix Potter figures on your nan's windowsill. Peter Rabbit, Jemima Puddle Duck, Mrs. Tiggy Winkle dusted every Sunday and utterly ignored the rest of the week. When the house was cleared, they went to the charity shop in a carrier bag, because who wants ornaments? Collectors, it turns out. Beswick closed its Longton factory in 2002, and values climbed steadily. The key is the back stamp on the base. Early gold back stamp figures from the 1950s sell for hundreds of pounds, and rare variations, a duck with a different coloured bonnet, a discontinued character, have sold for over 1,000. Beswick horses and farm animals do serious money too. The carrier bag that went to the hospice shop in 1998 could have contained a 4-figure sum. If there is one thing this list should teach you, it is this. Always, always turn ornaments upside down before you give them away. Number 18. Pastel Tupperware. The Tupperware party was a British suburban institution. Your mum sat in a neighbour's front room, ate a Victoria sponge, and came home with lettuce crispers and cake carriers in pale pink, mint green, and butter yellow. The stuff was genuinely indestructible, which made it worthless. It got scratched, stained with bolognese, lost its lids, and was thrown out in bulk during every declutter. Now the early pieces from the 1950s and the 1960s, the ones in those soft pastel colours with the patented burping seals, are seriously collectible. Mint condition sets sell for £50 and beyond. Rare colours and unusual pieces like the Party Susan or the Gel and Serve mould do better still, and there are collectors who hunt down complete hostess gift sets in original boxes. When Tupperware's troubles made headlines recently, prices climbed again. The box your mum kept clothes pegs in has outperformed her building society account. First pattern break, and here is where things get interesting, because we are moving from the kitchen to the toy box, and this is where the real money starts. Number 17. Brooke Bond tea cards. Inside every packet of PG tips came a picture card. British birds, dinosaurs, the race into space. Children swapped doubles in the playground and begged Mum to buy more tea. and Brooke Bond sold the albums for sixpence at the grocer. Between the 1950s and the 1990s, billions of cards were issued, and almost all of them were eventually binned. Complete albums with every card neatly stuck in now sell for reasonable money, but here is the twist. The valuable ones are the albums nobody filled and the cards nobody stuck. Unstuck cards in mint condition are worth many times more than glued ones, and rare early sets and error cards fetch 3 figures. The very act of doing what the album told you to do, sticking the cards in, destroyed most of the value. Sometimes the collector's market rewards the child who never finished anything. Number 16. Dinky, Corgi, and Matchbox cars. This is the entry that hurts. Every British boy had a biscuit tin full of die-cast cars. They were raced down the stairs, crashed into skirting boards, repainted with Airfix enamel, and buried in sandpits. The boxes, and this is the crucial part, the boxes went in the bin on Christmas morning. A played-with car is worth a few pounds. The same car mint in its original box is worth hundreds. A dinky delivery van with a rare promotional livery has sold for over £10,000. The Corgi James Bond Aston Martin, the biggest selling toy of 1965, goes for £400 and up boxed, and rare colour variants of ordinary Matchbox models, a different shade of green, different wheels, have made 5 figures at auction. Millions of pounds of value was destroyed by children doing exactly what the toys were designed for: playing. Number 15. Action Man. Palitoy's Action Man arrived in 1966, and for 2 decades every British boy owned at least one. He was buried in the garden, sent over the banister on a homemade parachute, given regrettable haircuts, and had his uniform scattered across 3 counties. When boys grew out of him, he went to the jumble sale or the bin. Today, an original 1966 Action Man in good condition sells for several £100s. And boxed examples with the wristband and manual go for 4 figures. The rare outfits are the killer. The ceremonial uniforms, the astronaut suit, the escape from Colditz sets, complete with every tiny accessory, sell for hundreds because almost nobody kept the tiny accessories. There are grown men now paying £50 for a single plastic boot to complete a figure. £50 for one boot, because in 1974, 8-year-old you hoovered up the other one. Number 14. Subbuteo. Flick to kick. The Green Bay's pitch rolled out on the dining table, the little men on their wobbly bases, and the arguments about whether that was a foul. Subbuteo, made in Kent, sold millions of team sets from the 1960s to the 1980s. And the teams got broken. Players snapped at the ankle, got trodden on in the carpet, got hoovered. Broken teams went in the bin, and when computer football arrived, whole collections followed. Now, common teams in their green box windows fetch £10 to £20, but rare teams, the obscure European sides, the short-run kits, the big box editions, sell for hundreds. Legendary rarities have topped £1,000 at specialist auctions. There are collectors chasing complete runs of every team reference number ever issued. The World Cup edition your dad got in 1970, complete with the tiny TV tower and floodlights, is worth proper money. If the floodlights survived. They never survived. Number 13. Sindy dolls. While America had Barbie, Britain had Sindy, launched by Pedigree in 1963 as the doll you love to dress. She had a wardrobe of duffel coats and mini dresses, a house, a horse, and eventually a rival in every toy cupboard in the land. And like every doll, she was loved half to death. Haircuts with the kitchen scissors, biro tattoos, clothes lost at the sandpit. When girls grew up, Sindy went to the church fete for 10 pence. Original 1963. Weekender Sindys, in good condition, now sell for well over £100. Boxed examples much more, And the rare outfits with their tiny plastic shoes and handbags fetch strong prices precisely because tiny shoes are the first thing the Hoover ate. Complete boxed gift sets have sold for several hundred. The doll Britain threw away by the skipload is now the subject of dedicated fairs, price guides, and some genuinely fierce online bidding wars. Number 12. Ladybird books. Those small, hard-backed books with the ladybird on the cover taught half of Britain to read. Peter and Jane, the well-loved tales, what to look for in winter. They cost £0.50 for decades, deliberately kept cheap so every family could afford them. And because they were cheap and everywhere, they were treated as disposable. Scribbled in, torn, damp in the garage, gone. Today, first editions with their original dust jackets are keenly collected. Early titles from the 1940s and the 1950s in fine condition sell for £50 to £100, and the rarest first printings can go well beyond that. Certain titles, the ones with short print runs or withdrawn artwork, are the holy grails of a very active collecting scene. The delicious irony is that the dust jackets, which mums removed and binned on day one because they got tatty, now account for most of the value. The book is common. The paper wrapper is gold. Number 11. The GPO telephone. For most of the century, you did not own your phone. You rented it from the GPO, and it sat in the hall heavy as a brick, in black, two-tone grey, or that unforgettable 1970s avocado. When phones went private and then cordless, the old rentals were returned, scrapped, or dumped in the loft. Millions of them were simply destroyed. Now the classic 746 model in an unusual color sells for £50 to £150 restored, and the older Bakelite 332 from the 1940s and 50s fetches £200 to £300. More for rare colors, because colored Bakelite phones cost extra to rent and hardly anyone paid. Film and television prop houses compete with interior designers for good examples. The phone your nan shouted into, standing in the freezing hall because the cord reached nowhere, is now a design icon. And unlike your smartphone, it still works after 50 years. Number 10. The Bush TR-82 transistor radio. That cream and maroon radio with the big round dial and the leather look handle was Britain's soundtrack. It sat on the kitchen windowsill for the shipping forecast, went to the beach for the test match, and hissed out Radio Luxembourg under the bed covers. When music went stereo, then digital, the trannies went to the tip in their thousands. Working original TR-82s from the late 1950s now sell for £100 and up, with mint-boxed examples fetching considerably more, and rarer British sets, the Roberts models in coloured leather, the early Pi and Echo Bakelite sets from before the war, command serious collector money. Pre-war Echo round radios designed by Wells Coates have sold for thousands as design museum pieces. Bush even relaunched the TR-82 shape as a retro reproduction, which tells you everything. We threw away the originals, then paid to buy back the memory. Second pattern break, and controversy incoming, because this next section is about the paper we binned. And paper is where the numbers get silly. Number 9. Football programs. Every match, every Saturday, dads bought the program, read it at half-time, and left it on the terrace or under the seat. They were penny sheets, then sixpenny booklets, printed to be thrown away. And thrown away they were, in their tens of millions. Now, a program from the 1966 World Cup final sells for £100 or more, and that is one of the most common valuable programs in existence because everyone kept that one. The real money is in the ordinary matches nobody kept. Pre-war programs routinely fetch hundreds. FA Cup finals from the 1920s go for thousands, and the rarest single programs, from famous abandoned matches or tragic fixtures, have sold for tens of thousands of pounds. The scrap of paper your granddad dropped on the terraces at Roker Park would pay for a season ticket today. Number 8. 7-inch singles. The record player in the corner, the box of 45s with the middles punched out, the picture sleeves torn and byroed with names. Britain bought singles by the 100 million, played them to death, and dumped them when cassettes arrived, then again when CDs arrived, then again at every house clearance since. Most old singles are worth pennies, let us be honest. But hiding in those boot sale boxes are astonishing rarities. Early Beatles pressings with specific label credits sell for thousands. Withdrawn singles, demo copies with the big A on the label, and obscure 1960s British psychedelic and Northern Soul releases that sold nothing at the time now fetch 4 and even 5 figures from collectors worldwide. One rare Northern Soul single, Frank Wilson's Do I Love You, sold for over £25,000. Somewhere in Britain, that record sat in a box marked 10 pence each. Somebody's mum told them that racket was going to the tip. Number 7. Enamel advertising signs. Bovril, Coleman's mustard, Fry's chocolate, Woodbines. Every corner shop and railway platform was plastered with heavy enameled steel signs, built to survive 50 British winters. When shops modernized, the signs were levered off and used to patch chicken sheds, line allotment paths, or fill skips. Farmers roofed pigsties with them. Today, the collecting world calls it street jewelry, and prices are extraordinary. Common signs in honest condition sell for £100 to £300. Rare pictorial signs, the ones with illustrations rather than just lettering, fetch thousands, and the finest examples have sold for 5 figures at specialist auctions. There are collectors who spend their weekends politely knocking on farmhouse doors, asking to look at chicken sheds. The sign that spent 40 years keeping rain off somebody's hens is winched down, restored, and hung in a barn conversion for more than the hens ever earned. Number 6. G-Plan and Ercol furniture. In the 1980s and the 90s, Britain performed a great furniture massacre. The teak sideboards, the elm dining sets, the Ercol armchairs our parents bought on hire purchase in the 1960s were suddenly hopelessly dated. Out they went, to the tip, the bonfire, the small ad offering it free to anyone with a van. Then, mid-century modern became the most fashionable look on earth. A G-Plan fresco sideboard that could not be given away in 1995 now sells for £500 to £1,000. Ercol studio couches and nests of tables fetch hundreds, with rare early pieces going far higher, and anything by British designers like Robert Heritage or Archie Shine commands serious auction money. The dovetail joints, the solid teak, the quality nobody wanted, turned out to be quality nobody could afford to make anymore. Your parents did not throw away a sideboard. They threw away next year's L decoration cover. Number 5. Midwinter and Poole pottery. The fancy plates, the midwinter dishes with zebra stripes or Terence Conran's leaf designs, the Poole pottery in those startling orange and red glazes. They came out for Sunday tea, got chipped, went out of fashion, and were carted off by the box load when the bungalow was cleared. Charity shops priced them at 50 pence a plate. Then collectors woke up to the fact that Midwinter from the 1950s had employed some of the finest designers in Britain. Jessie Tate's hand-painted patterns now sell for strong money, piece by piece. Rare shapes and trial designs fetch hundreds. And Poole's Delphis range from the 1970s, the psychedelic plates your nan thought were a bit much, sells for anywhere from £50 to several £100 a dish, depending on the artist's mark on the base. Complete coffee sets in rare patterns have made 4 figures. Sunday best, it turns out, was an investment portfolio with gravy on it. Number 4. The Raleigh Chopper. No object on this list was loved harder or destroyed more thoroughly. The Chopper, built in Nottingham, with its high-rise handlebars, banana seat, and that gear lever mounted where gear levers had no business being, was the bike of the 1970s. And it was ridden into the ground, jumped off ramps, crashed, rusted behind the shed, and finally scrapped when BMX arrived and made it embarrassing overnight. Original Mark I. Choppers in good order now sell for over £1,000. Exceptional examples have fetched 2,000 to 3,000, and rare colours and the ultra-scarce Sprint and special editions go higher still at auction. Even rusty barn-find choppers sell for hundreds as restoration projects, and original parts, the seat, the gear knob, the correct rear tyre, trade briskly on their own. The bike your dad scrapped for £5 is now worth more than his first car. He knows. Do not mention it at Christmas. Number 3. The Sinclair ZX Spectrum. In 1982, Clive Sinclair put a computer in Britain's living rooms for under £125, and a generation learned to program on that little black slab with the rubber keys. When better machines came along, Spectrums went to the loft, then the tip, along with carrier bags full of cassette games. Nobody kept the boxes. Nobody kept the receipts. Today, a boxed Spectrum in good condition sells for £200 to £500 depending on the model. Early issue machines fetch more, and the games are where it gets absurd. Rare titles in mint condition sell for hundreds. Sealed copies of sought-after games have gone for 4 figures, and prototype or unreleased cartridges are treated like religious relics by collectors. The wider retro gaming boom has done the same for binned Segas, Nintendos, and BBC Micros. The cassette that cost your mum $1.99 from the newsagent and never loaded properly. Worth more than the telly it plugged into. Number 2. Palitoy Star Wars figures. When Star Wars hit Britain in 1978, Palitoy of Leicester made the figures here under license, and every child had a shoebox army. They went in the bath, in the sandpit, in the dog. Capes tore, tiny blasters vanished into the carpet forever, and the backing cards were ripped open and binned on sight, because the toy was the point. Catastrophic mistake. Loose played with figures are worth a few pounds. Carded, unopened Palitoy figures sell for hundreds to thousands, and the rarities are the stuff of legend. A vinyl-caped Jawa has sold for tens of thousands of pounds. An unopened Palitoy Boba Fett made national news when it fetched a 5-figure sum at a Yorkshire auction house, and the rarest examples have gone beyond 100,000. British-made cards are scarcer than American ones, which makes our versions the jackpot. The greatest toy investment in history was sitting in British bedrooms, and we opened every single one. And number 1, the first edition Harry Potter. In 1997, Bloomsbury printed just 500 hardback copies of Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone by an unknown author, and sent most of them to school and public libraries. They were issued, stamped, scribbled in, read to bits, and when they got tatty, withdrawn and thrown out or sold off for pennies, exactly like every other worn library book. Today, a true first edition hardback, identified by the print line and a famous typo listing one wand twice on page 53, sells for £50,000 and upwards, with the finest copies fetching well over 100,000 at auction. Even first edition paperbacks from that year sell for thousands. Copies have been found in charity shops, lofts, and school clearouts, bought decades ago for pounds. It is the most valuable everyday object Britain ever binned, and unlike everything else on this list, it happened within living memory of everyone watching. Go and check your shelves. So that is the list. From Green Shield stamps to a £50,000 library book, the pattern is always the same. The moment something is everywhere, we stop seeing it, and the moment it is gone, we pay anything to get it back. So here is my challenge before you go. Do not throw anything away this weekend without turning it upside down first. Check the back stamp. Check the box. Check page 53. Then tell me in the comments what your family binned that you wish they had kept. My mum scrapped a chopper and gave away a full set of Beswick rabbits, and I still have not forgiven her. Subscribe if you have not already, because next week we are opening Britain's lofts again, and they are fuller than you think.